Hello, everyone. It's Men in Stripes, and we're talking a victory finally, guys. Woo! It's been a long, long time. All of November since we got to talk about the Bengals winning a football game, and we're excited to do that, and hopefully we're going to be talking about a second one coming up this week. Let's go ahead and get this show started with none other than Matt Wilson and our very dedicated, battling fatigue and college life co-host, our numbers guy, Shelby Dermer, coming through in the clutch to still spend some time with us this week. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Doing all right. I had my Veterans Day off.
Yeah.
Then just had to battle through the fatigue and one final exam this morning. No sleep, but victories don't come often on this show, so had to take advantage.
There you go.
Well,
man.
I did have you at doubtful, which meant 25% chance.
Yeah, I had fantasy owners tweeting me and stuff, saying I better for the playoffs starting.
And like what was it DeAndre Hopkins said last year, that why is it that your name can be in fantasy sports but you don't make any money off it, right?
But doesn't he really though? Because aren't they in that commercial like the?
Yeah, he's in the FanDuel commercial.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So guys, a Houday victory this last week where we saw Andy Dalton play his best game, as Shelby typed up an article on this week, was a really good piece. We saw Brandon LaFell be incredible this week. I shouldn't say incredible, but really good. Tyler Eifert does not get 100 yards like I projected, but he does get a touchdown like I projected. Really good defensive game. Vontaze Burfict, obviously incredible. And it's not like that was like, I mean, I know it's a mediocre Eagles team, but it's not like a terrible Eagles team that they beat the way they did. But they took care of business. They did all the right things. Shelby, when you looked at this game, let's talk a little bit more about Andy Dalton's performance, especially considering Jeremy Hill's rocking 22 carries for 32 yards and a touchdown this week.
Hey, I had to start him in fantasy with DeMarco Murray out, so he got me that red zone touchdown. That's all I needed. But yeah, Dalton, and it's like I typed up, you have to give him a game ball because, no one on the offense really shined except for him because he spread the ball around so much. He completed passes to 9 different receivers, and, if this game, the biggest question besides the running game is where was Tyler Eifert all game? He got targeted twice, and it was on the touchdown drive to end the half, and he caught the touchdown and caught the 13-yarder before that. Other than that, he wasn't even targeted throughout the game.
Right.
So it just shows you Dalton was extremely accurate down the field, and a lot of his critics say he can't throw the deep ball. Hit LaFell in stride for 44, hit Cody Core for 50, hit Tyler Boyd for 27. Great overall game by Dalton, and a big bounce back after losing 2 fumbles against the Ravens.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So, Matt, we'll bring you into the conversation here. Got to ask you, man, in your eyes, what was more awesome in this game? The orange jersey, black pant combination, or how good the Bengals offensive line was?
That's a tough one. Cause,
that's a good question.
When you go orange and black, you just can't go back.
Undefeated in that jersey combo.
But they won, so they got to go for a winning streak here. But the offensive line looked really good, and that's something we haven't been able to say much at all this year. Did Whitworth even have a hold this week?
Nobody got hurt.
Still, the fact that
came back
is like an accomplishment.
Bodine played well this week.
Bodine played well. I think, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I got to see a little bit of it, but I didn't see a ton of it like I wanted to, making the wife happy and spending, family day.
Sure.
But it almost looks like there's still a little bit of question on whether Ogbui is 100% ready, but he looked pretty good this week, didn't he?
He barely played, actually. Yeah, so Winston started. Winston started, and Jake Fisher was the lineman they were rotating in. So,
but that's one thing that I think, and that's the shocker there too. That Winston was actually really good because you know how critical I've always been on Winston, the fact that he's an old man, and he doesn't defend his teammates since he's the NFLPA president. But no, I mean, this offensive line looked from what I've seen in the replays and looking back at the stat line, played really well. something we've been waiting for them to do, and gave Andy Dalton the time he needed to make the plays. And it shows that when they hold up, Andy Dalton can do his job properly, get the ball downfield, and they can win games offensively too. And it just doesn't have to be the defense. And so it doesn't matter like we talked about last week, doesn't matter if it's Andy Dalton or A.J. McCarron. If that line doesn't hold up, Andy Dalton could be the best quarterback in the NFL, and he still would have a difficult time. And this week they proved that he's the right guy for the job.
Yeah, I was going to say, the McCarron crowd is very quiet this week, aren't they?
Yeah, I was going to ask if Dalton voted on McAllister's blog.
So, we talk a lot about the offensive side and how great that was. Let's talk about some cool things on the defense side. First off, I know the sacks aren't there like they have been in the past, so he still has 7. How about Carlos Dunlap currently being 6th in the league at pass breakups? Corners and safeties are the only people above him. So, the closest one that's, not a corner or safety is not even the top 10, to tell you that much. The guys ahead of him are David Amerson of Oakland, Janoris Jenkins of the Giants, Marcus Peters, Brent Grimes, and Casey Hayward. And those are all cornerbacks. And Carlos Dunlap is up there with them as far as getting pass knocks down. So, if he's not all-pro this year, it's a scam.
I kind of feel bad because I pride myself on the numbers, and is it me, or did he kind of do it quietly? Because
Yeah, it's done it quietly.
Okay, because I didn't really notice, honestly. The one I remember was he batted down one from Roethlisberger in week 2 on a 3rd down, which was big because the Bengals always have trouble stopping Big Ben on 3rd down.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I mean it's a cliche, but the broadcasters say it every week. If you can't get to the quarterback, get your hands up and try to knock down a pass. Even Pecco had a big deflection, and we've seen that come into play for big interceptions. Burfict had 2 picks, one of them on a tip pass, and Vinny Ray had a pick against the Browns to put the game away on a tip pass from Dunlap. So yeah, I mean, great job for Dunlap, and I hope he gets the accolades he deserves for it.
And that brings us to, I don't know if you guys remember or not, but I think it was the Giants game. I said I needed to see more from Vontaze Burfict, and I needed him to make plays. And he's been doing that. He's been doing a lot of that. Even through the rough losing streak. He has been on fire. And like Shelby mentioned, had a couple picks this last week. I think 11 or 12 tackles.
15.
15, thank you. No one came out of the game complaining about him hitting them too hard or in the wrong place. And you saw that's the Vontaze Burfict I'm familiar with. So maybe, I jumped the gun on that and he was just getting his legs underneath him again. But, and I know this is easy to say with Luke Kuechly being out and other guys here and there. And I know Von Miller and Khalil Mack are still in the league. But I think Vontaze has really been the best linebacker in the league for the last month. And I know Khalil Mack had a crazy game the other week. But other than that, he's still had a really good year, but I don't think he's been as good as Vontaze.
Well, Matt, if you don't mind, I'll start it with this one. But when you compare those with Von Miller and Khalil Mack, they make their plays rushing the passer.
Mm-hmm.
When Burfict, they're almost like speed rushing defensive ends. With guys like Burfict and Kuechly, and older guys that retired like Patrick Willis,
sure,
and Ryan Shazier even. I know he didn't retire. But, those linebackers, they actually play the position what it was meant, what it's been known for, and that's stopping the run, making plays in coverage, chasing down quarterbacks when they get out of the pocket. As far as those type of linebackers, it'd be hard to argue with Burfict not being at the top. I think he'd be up there with Jarrell Freeman from the Bears.
Yeah, he's had a hell of a year.
Yeah, I mean, Vontaze also had 4 pass deflections. Let's not forget that as well.
Yep.
In the game to really make a difference in terms of something that we've criticized a lot, and that's really covering the pass this year with the secondary breakdowns, and he jumped in there, helped a lot there too. On top of the 4 interceptions he had, Vontaze has really been something the second half of the season so far, and he's really come to life, and I think we've seen the defense come to life with him, and so for him, I think. It brings this team along. We've talked about, how this team hasn't really made too many adjustments. Well, Vontaze proved he made some adjustments for the second half, And man, this defense, granted they haven't won until this week, but this defense has looked sharp the second half. It's really been the offense that needs to step up, and a lot of that is due to Vontaze Burfict stepping up.
Yeah, and lost in that 0-3-1 stretch was Burfict, 47 combined tackles,
Yep.
40 of them were solo, and then he added the 2 picks. He had a sack on Tyrod Taylor. So yeah, he's playing at an exceptional level. And you mentioned no one complained about Burfict, but I actually did see a Steelers account tweet a Vine about Burfict's hit on I don't remember the receiver for the Eagles, but Burfict and the receiver were hurt. It was the Eagles game. Yeah,
it was at the shoulder, and that was the most legal hit that we've seen from him ever.
But it was just funny you mentioned that because it just jogged my memory. I saw that on Twitter during the game and just scoffed at it. But yeah, just great game by the defense. And Paulie G, after the bye week, remember last year after the bye week, the defense turned it on too. They held the Texans to 10 points, had a shakeup against the Cardinals, who were the best offense in the NFL at the time, dominated the Rams, dominated the Browns, held the Ravens to 16, held the Broncos to 20 in overtime. So Gunther, good job at making adjustments in the second half.
Absolutely, man. So that's definitely to touch on. And might we forget before we move on, Mike Nugent missed another kick this week, guys. It's getting to be a little redonkulous and barely made another field goal.
Yeah, it is. All of his field goals, the 3 fourth one were all an extra pointer shorter. And then the one he made to seal the game at the end, he banked it home like the Seattle game winner.
Yeah.
Off the left upright. But hey, when you're up 20 points, it softens the blow a little bit. So I guess he gets a slide from Houday Nation this week.
Was it Connor Howe? He used to work for us. He tweeted, "I call bank," in quotes, Mike Nugent.
And Connor is still a good friend of mine. Him and I still keep in touch, and we definitely have always wished each other the best. And but he got that one right too. But at the same time, in NBA you can make a 3/4 court shot and bank it in, and it still counts, right?
Yeah, unless you're Steph Curry, you don't hit the bank at all. It goes straight in. He's an absurd human being, folks.
He's a superhuman.
Yeah, he is.
Fun to watch.
By the way, you mentioned the Steelers thing earlier. Did you please tell me you saw that Le'Veon Bell said another team was trying to go out and hurt him? Like, he has this full paranoid belief, I'm pretty sure, that every single team just wants to injure him and end his career.
Well, gosh, the 2 times he got injured against the Bengals, Reggie Nelson hit him low, which what are you going to do, hit him high and get 15 yards?
And then $15,000 fine?
Yeah, and then Burfict tackled him to the sidelines last year, and literally it was a freak accident. And just Burfict swung around, and Bell's leg got trapped. So I think he's just kind of got it in his head that every team's out to get him because, when you touch the ball 30 times a game like he does,
right.
you're bound to get hit a few times. Maybe you don't like. So I don't read too much into that.
It's madness.
Don't worry, Tom Brady's out for every football too.
Quit hating on Brady.
Right?
Get over it. He's the GOAT.
He is.
I get you riled up too.
God. Leave Tom alone.
I'm worried about him beating the Ravens this Monday, though.
Me too.
Yeah.
We just get a snapshot of Tim doing the leave Tom alone thing and add some fake tears. We can make that video go viral.
Unicorns, show ponies, Brady's the greatest. Moving on. Guys, again, we had this discussion last week. We got to touch it again this week. We talked about how Jeremy Hill was not impressive this week, how he was literally averaging getting hit in the backfield. That was his yards per carry. How does that happen?
1.2 yards?
Yes. And Rex Burkhead has another pretty decent day. A few less touches. He only was I think Jeremy Hill only had 12 more snaps than Burkhead, if I saw correctly. Something like that. And Burkhead had another good game running the ball. He did have a fumble when he was in the slot, but
That guy made a good play.
Yeah, that guy made a hell of a play. Like we know, and I know Rex Burkhead had a fumble in the Seattle game last year too. But again, that's Michael Bennett making a really good play in that game too.
And he was unblocked.
Yes, completely. I hate Michael Bennett. I just want to go and say that too. But I am lean. It's not that I'm at the point where I'm done with Jeremy Hill, and I said that last week. But the argument for Rex Burkhead is coming up more and more and more, and we're starting to. And we saw it again last week that when he was in there, he hit the holes well. He found open space. He did a lot of really good things. My man's just got to get in the end zone at some point. It's just got to happen. But and I know Jeremy Hill really. I mean, if you look at the yards, you look at the yards per carry average, hasn't been bad, truly. But it just doesn't look like that same guy like we've said all along and from the rookie year that we thought we'd see this year. But Rex is making his case, man. And I'm starting to be a little nervous because Rexy's going to be a free agent after this year, too. So the Bengals are going to have a decision to make.
Well, and I went back after making the comments about how I felt, Rex Burkhead and Giovanni Bernard were pretty much the same type of running back. And I watched some of his tape back in Wisconsin. And
Nebraska?
Nebraska, sorry.
Red and white, I know.
Yeah, I know. And the fact that they're both in the middle of nowhere.
Same division.
But you take a look at what he did in Nebraska, and you almost kind of see somebody who was a more complete back all the way around. And it's something that we haven't seen in Cincinnati because obviously he hasn't played much being behind Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard. But he showed a lot more completeness in Nebraska, and I think if he can really bring that out in Cincinnati, I think there's huge assets that he can bring to the table, and it's something that will keep you guessing, unlike with Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard, where if Hill's in, if it's not a run, it's not going to him pass-wise unless it's like short in the flat, and 9 times out of 10, you question whether or not he's going to catch it. And so Rex has better hands when it comes to receiving, but if he can shore up his hands in terms of, and yes, I understand it was a great play defensively.
Yeah,
he can shore up when it comes to even in the run game and keeping away from the fumbles, because we saw I think it was a 4th down fumble last year when he got the chance. I'm forgetting the game, but it was the one where the ball ended up going, I think, like across the first down line. They recovered it, and they had to bring it back to like the original fumble spot because it wasn't Burkhead that recovered it.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I'm not right off the top of my head. I don't know either.
I remember the game. I just can't remember what team they were playing. But, it's one thing that I think that he is a true asset to this team. It's just he's so underutilized. And now he's getting his chance. We're seeing that he has he has the potential that I think a lot of us were hoping he would have. Obviously, just not seeing it because he wasn't playing.
It kind of, and not to take over here, Shelby, because I know this, I'm going to tie you into this conversation, obviously. It feels like Kenny Watson in a way. Like, if you remember, there was that year where Rudy and Perry were both, like, Rudy got hurt and Perry couldn't get anything going. So Marvin was, like, and Marvin and Brekowski were going to Kenny Watson. I think he ended up with, like, 700 yards rushing one year. Like, it almost has that Kenny Watson feel to it.
You also remember Kenny Irons for a little bit. And Dede Dorsey.
Yeah.
All had their little stints.
I was at the game when Dede Dorsey blocked a punt and took it to the house.
Yeah. And even Boom Herron had a blocked punt against the Eagles 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know why that matters, but yeah, I mean, I said last week, I'd advocate Burkhead getting more touches, but I'm still on the fence about Jeremy Hill. It's just he's not very elusive.
Right.
When he gets the ball, I don't trust him to break tackles in the open field. But, the Bengals are going to have to rely on him heavily against Cleveland because that's the team he usually goes off against.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's probably why his yards and average are blown up because of that Cleveland game when he had 9 carries and 175 yards.
Yeah.
But he still gets a lot of touchdowns, man. I think he's second behind DeMarco Murray since entering the league in total touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, goal line carries are a big part of that, and his rookie season, you can't deny how great he was, and he's so good in the red zone, and that's really why you're on the fence about it. If his touchdown numbers weren't there, and that's honestly just the difference in a few play calls. The Bengals play action pass, and could pad Dalton's numbers a little bit, and Hill's numbers wouldn't be as great. But there's no denying in the red zone he turns it up a little bit. But from everywhere else on the field, he just he stutters in the hole, and any other running back would not have carried the. If you gave Rex Burkhead 23 carries against the Eagles, there's no way he's gaining only 33 yards.
Right.
No.
Yeah, I agree. One other thing before we move on and talk about the Browns game. One thing that really stood out to me in the Bengals game was there was a few more calls for Andy Dalton to run the ball. There was that one 3rd and 4 where they run they had Rex Burkhead in the slot and they brought Tyler Boyd in the backfield. I need more of those. We need more Andy Dalton designed run plays because we know he's an athlete. Oh, and we didn't even touch on it. Props to my boy Cody Core for making a really nice play after making a not so nice play on that reverse. Totally
running into Burkhead.
Yeah, and the touchdown makes that beautiful 50-yard play. That kid's a player. I know it's one catch, but that kid can play.
But yeah, I wish he would have gotten the end zone.
So I actually saw there was someone from Pro Football Focus who covered the draft, and he put a tweet out saying when I watched Ole Miss film, there was not much of a difference between Laquan Treadwell and Cody Core. The Bengals got a steal.
I mean, only time will tell, I guess.
Yeah. Well, he has one more catch than Treadwell does already.
Treadwell has one catch.
Oh, so they're even.
Right? Just one?
I think so, yeah. I think he's 3 targets.
Yes. Yeah, Core has 2, so so far that tweet's looking all right.
Yeah.
But he's going to get his time. I mean, even James Wright made plays, and that's what it was just so good to see. It was all these Bengals receivers coming together. James Wright, Tyler Boyd, LaFell, Core. Even Erickson had a catch on that end of the first half drive.
Yep.
So it was very great to see. And, even Jake Fisher caught a pass.
Yeah.
Even though he fumbled. I mean, in hindsight, it's a stupid call because he fumbled. But, if he runs out of bounds, it's, oh, look how great that is to Jake Fisher making a catch. But,
right.
It is alarming. That's the first time we've heard his name all season. But
it's too cute for me in that situation. I wouldn't
really?
call. Yeah. I mean, I get it. It makes sense because it's no one sees it coming. Because anytime you hear number 74 is reporting eligible, you think it's a run. I get the trickery of it, but when you're up that much with that much time to go in the game, I wouldn't do it.
Well, it's only because he ended up fumbling.
Well, even so, if it's a second quarter, 10 minutes to go in the half kind of play, maybe I might put it in there just to kind of get a little momentum going. But not in that situation. So
you'd rather have it in when he had it against the Chargers? You remember his catch?
Yeah, I was at that game actually. I
And
thought he was going to score.
Yeah. Well, no way. It was 7-0. But I mean, you're up 15. You're in field goal range. You don't expect him to fumble. And once again, the Eagles player made a great play, realizing he was carrying that ball like Jermaine Gresham.
Nicely put.
But I mean, I don't mind the call because it's getting a lot of heat because he ended up fumbling when he should have just went down to run out the clock or ran out of bounds to be safe. But it ended up not costing him.
Oh, and Darquez Denard reading those screens, he was hitting people. He was hitting hard.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, that brings us to the chance for the Cincinnati Bengals to finally have a 2-game win streak this year. Their first 2-game non-losing streak since Cleveland and going to London. The Browns, they go to Cleveland this week to see the Browns of 0-12 getting one of their 14 quarterbacks back in Robert Griffin III. Still throwing to only Terrell Pryor. Gary Barnidge has come back down to earth from his season last year. The Browns now do have Jamie Collins, so maybe they're a little better on defense. I don't know. Shelby can tell me if numbers back that up or not. But I don't know why. Because I know we should look at this right and be like, that's the Browns. We've got this, Something about this game frightens me. I don't know if it's because of how the season's gone. I don't know if it's because I'm still thinking what Robert Griffin did his rookie year in Washington against the Bengals, even though the Bengals won that game. I don't know if it's Robert Griffin's all of a sudden going to get that rookie season magic again, that rookie dust is going to come back on him. But something about this game, as a Bengal fan, scares the crap out of me. I don't know if it's just because I don't want to be the one.
Yeah, that's exactly it, Tim. And you just assume that with Hugh Jackson, as bad as this season's been, it'd be great for the Browns to win at least one game. and it being at home against a division rival and against Hugh Jackson's former team where he coached on 2 separate stints. And you just have the feeling that they're going to throw out every trick play they have in the book. They'll go for it on 4th downs in certain scenarios, and they'll throw out all the stops to pull out a win. And it's scary because, bragging rights are on the line, obviously, and you don't want to be that one. It'd be like losing to the when the Saints lost to the Buccaneers to end their 26-game losing streak to start their franchise in the 70s. It'd be something, and it has reason to scare you because, anything can happen in these division games.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what's so frightening about it. So let's talk about Robert Griffin here a little bit, Shelby, while we're getting Matt situated here. This is this is Robert Griffin's coming home party. This is him getting his chance to play in the league again. This is what the Cleveland Browns are hoping they were going to get. He looked good in the preseason a little bit. He had some nice deep throws there to Terrell Pryor. I think he had Josh Gordon for one of those games, so obviously that's going to play a part in that too. But I don't know, man. Like, realistically, if you look at it, there's nothing about Robert Griffin that should scare me, except for, like, watching Kevin Hogan run the option on them earlier in the year and getting big chunk plays.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and other than the Star Wars meme that I just had up to make you guys laugh, the one thing that, and I've had a couple conversations with both Factory of Sadness, which is our Cleveland fan-sided site for the whole city, and Dogtown Daily. One big thing that you're really seeing from them is they don't have much hope. They actually think San Diego is going to be a more winnable game than Cincinnati. They also think that, they kind of need to leave the Joe Thomas, Joe Hayden era behind and really kind of start with these fresh guys like Ugba and Shelton and Nassib, some of their young talent. And so, it is kind of a trap game. We always talk about it with the idea of, the Pittsburgh Steelers and being a trap. So, it kind of comes back down to that in terms of, can the Bengals kind of not look past the Cleveland Browns to next week's game? Can they keep focused on this week and really just kind of take care of business like they should?
That's going to be a tough one there, man. I think that, we know, I still think that 1 through 53, the most teams the Bengals match up against, they really are better, even with the losses that they've had. And we know in this situation that 1 through 53 is certainly better. But what's to say that this isn't going to be the week that Gary Barnidge becomes Barnkowski again? Especially with, I know, well, Brent Selleck and Zach Ertz didn't have that big of a game until the end.
Ertz did. Over. Yeah.
When it was over, he did.
Right. And that one guy, 47.
Oh, yeah, Trey Burton. He was the quarterback of Florida for a little while.
Right.
He was everything Tim Tebow was supposed to be in the NFL, a tight end. Boom. So, yeah, man. But I think the last time we did a show, we covered a Browns game. We literally sat there and tried to name 8 or 9 players on the Browns and were not successful. I think now I can at least name 10.
Well, I just can't on the defense.
Yeah. So
on offense, I'm fairly okay with, but
so Jamie Collins, Joe Hayden.
That's it for me.
Ryan Nassib, Danny Shelton.
Yep.
I knew Shelton. Okay.
Emmanuel Ogbah. No, Paul Kruger's not there anymore. So okay, I can get 5 on defense.
Nassib.
Named him.
What's that?
Trayvon Williams.
Okay, 6.
Cornerback. I think.
You said Hayden, right?
Yeah, we got Hayden. That's Andy Dalton's best friend.
Truth to that.
Although he sucked this year so far.
What's life going to be like for him when he can actually play a game at AJ Green's and on the other side?
Well, he's usually had pretty successful against AJ Green.
Exactly.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be crying a little bit because he can't predict what somebody's going to do anymore, which is just straight down the field.
Watch Tyler Boyd go have 90 yards on him.
I wish another receiver would have 100 yards for the Bengals. I don't know if you guys saw my stat, but the Bengals haven't had a 100-yard receiver not named A.J. Green since October 2014 against the Ravens when Mohamed Sanu went off.
Is that so? That's not counting tight ends, right? Because Eifert had a 100-yard game in London.
Right.
Okay. And he did not.
And it's not counting running backs either because Giovanni Bernard had 100 against the Steelers this season.
Yeah, and he had 100 against the Cardinals last year too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on that too. I think LaFell was close this week with 95.
And he had 91 against the Jets in his first game with the Bengals.
He's been a lot better than advertised.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got a lot of crap for not
with his drops and whatever, but that hasn't been a problem.
No, like the only reason he's not better than Marvin Jones this year is because Marvin Jones had a 200-yard game.
Right.
And that was a game when they were down 28, and they were just
the Packers.
And they were just trying to catch up. So
Stat Padford.
That whole Marvin Jones, Mohamed Sanu are costing the season thing is so overrated. Tyler Boyd's the best rookie third down wide receiver in the league right now.
Yeah, I mean, can you name other rookies that have had bigger impacts wide receiver wise? Will Fuller maybe in the first half, but that's
Michael Thomas from New Orleans.
Michael Thomas from the Saints.
Other than that, you're right, man. Josh Dawson's been hurt.
Treadwell's been not a factor.
Corey Coleman's been hurt.
He's had a few good games.
Yeah. So yeah, man.
Yeah, but as good as advertised, and that's just factors into one of those seasons where the Bengals have lost a lot of games by one possession, and it's resulted in a bad record.
Yeah, I still think that they could potentially, if they can fix the offensive line, I think they could really be another special team again next year. But we still have a lot more games to play, obviously. So let's talk a little bit more important, about this week. Shelby, what are you looking forward to, man? I think we all expect this is going to be that Jeremy Hill game where it's I'll be bad against everybody, but I'll be good against the Browns.
Hey, that'd be fine with me.
I want Rexy to get in the end zone. Can we run the old Miami Dolphins Wildcat, just play a little Hugh Jackson, where we have Rex Burkhead take the snap and Jeremy Hill go in motion? Can we do that?
We very well could, but I'd rather have Cedric Pearman than Jeremy Hill. But
yeah, that's true.
But
Trey Carson comes up.
I'm looking forward to seeing a game in the snow. Mm-hmm. A lot of snow in the radar. They're expecting a couple inches in Cleveland. 70% chance. So I really like the Bengals defense in this against RG3, who's obviously going to be not as mobile as usual. And, he's not the most accurate passer. So I give the Bengals the edge on defense. And then on offensively, it's, spread the ball to your weapons like you had the last 2 weeks. And, let Jeremy Hill have his big game against the Browns.
Yeah, I'm with you, man.
I remember Burkhead's first career touchdown came in Cleveland in Manziel's debut.
It was have the Browns scored on the bank? No. Hasn't both trips to Cleveland been a shutout the last two?
Well, they scored it was 37-3 last time at Cleveland.
So the last two ties has been a combined 67-3 in the Bengals' favor?
Correct.
Okay. So I don't think it's going to be that drastic this week, but... although I am petrified of this game because, for some reason or another, this will be the game that Duke Johnson has 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, if we've seen in the past for the Browns.
Or Crowell.
Yeah, or Crowell. Or Terrell Pryor, is good again or something like that.
Just see, the more you keep this team around, and that's what's been the biggest transition with the Bengals, I think, over this run of success is that they haven't let teams hang around. They've beaten the teams that they're supposed to beat. And it's especially Cleveland, except that 2014 disaster in Cincinnati. It was Dalton's bad game.
I was there.
Erase that. Yeah, But, it just scares me because, in the early Marvin years, it was the Browns always hanging around. Derek Anderson lit them up a few times. Even Brandon Weeden and Trent Richardson lit them up in 2011.
Yeah, I remember that.
Trent Richardson had his best game ever in his career.
His only good game?
Only good game ever against the Bengals. And
Ray Ballou called him the worst running back in the league.
He did?
Yeah. After one game. He was after it was the Bengals played him in week 2 his rookie year. And Richardson had a stinker the week 1. And Yeah, Mal Lugo was like, he's the worst running back in the league.
Well, he was right.
Yes.
But
Remember
but
the
I
Colts
always
traded for him? Traded first round picks for him?
and I remember his first carry ever against the 49ers was a touchdown for the Colts.
Yeah.
And then there's that vine of him in the preseason with the Raiders where he misses that gigantic hole. Oh man, poor guy. But I always bring up the game, I think it was 2004. Jeff Garcia threw a 99-yard touchdown pass against the Bengals to Andre Davis.
Yep.
And I only remember it because my dad said, I guarantee they're going to play action pass and throw it deep. And sure enough, Andre Davis beat Deltha O'Neal. Or no, it was Torrey James for a 99-yard touchdown. Rudy Johnson lost a couple fumbles and the Bengals lost. And I just feel like the Bengals have to avoid that catastrophic mistake in this game.
I think
like
they
a
will.
Dalton, like a Dalton pick six or like a fumble return for touchdown or a special teams touchdown. They have to avoid that big mistake that keeps the Browns in the game because, if it's still a one possession game in the fourth quarter, or knock on wood that the Browns are winning in the fourth quarter, that crowd's going to get energized because they're thinking about that first and final win.
Yeah, man, I agree. And that's the last thing we need is the 22 people in the dog pound that are going to be into this game and really loud. But yeah, so I would say that I think, the key for me is can the offensive line do it again? Keep Dalton safe, keep Dalton secure. Don't, if he gets sacked once or twice, it happens. That's give the Browns players credit for making plays there. But this is going to be a game where I think Tyler Boyd's really going to kind of like show how far he's come. I expect him to still be as dominant as he has been on third down for this team, really being the trusty guy. I think Cody Core is going to make another play in this game, man. I think that he's going to take advantage of the size. He might get matched up against Hayden a couple times, but I like that matchup on the outside, truthfully. And your boy James Wright is going to make something happen this week.
I like your boy Tyler Eifert because, the last time we've seen Eifert fully healthy against the Browns was his 3-touchdown game last time on Thursday night.
I was also there.
Last year at Cleveland he missed the game, and then earlier this season it was his first game back. He only played a few snaps. He had one catch. So I like Eifert a lot in the red zone. I think ultimately the Bengals win the game.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's going to be close, though. I don't want to say it's going to be close. I think they should win big. I think
weather will play a factor.
I do too. I haven't seen what the spread is, but I think this is going to be like one of those 21-13 games where they grind it out at the end and Hill and Burkhead get some good carries that just take the game over. The spread's 5.5, so if I say it by that, they'll cover spread. So yes, The Bengals will cover, but not by much.
My prediction to Dog Pound Daily was 31-10 Bengals. I'm going to stick with that.
Where are you talking to us from? Are you in a spaceship?
Can't you see?
No, you
Look
have.
I'm talking.
Are you on the Death Star?
I'm on the Millennial Falcon headed towards the Death Star.
Okay.
It's a trap. Then again, I do have them with 31-10, so I guess it's not that much of a trap.
What's in that soup can?
It's a spatula.
Oh, I don't know what it looks like.
You also have to remember, my wife comes home from her second job on Thursday, so I have to actually make dinner.
I got you. Well, hey, man, I'm sorry that we're keeping you.
Wait.
Fine, we'll go ahead and make picks. Jeez, Matt, way to be selfish and take care of your family. How dare you?
I almost had to go to the bullpen because of you guys.
It's all good, man. It's all good. So
I'm talking baseball instead of football there.
Yeah, well, Aroldis Chapman's with the Yankees again, so take that. I have no idea what that means, what I just said. I'm sorry.
It means he's going to suck again.
He's never sucked. Get that out of your head.
What is it? The Waterboy, where Rob Schneider goes, "Oh no, we suck again."
He was actually incredible in everywhere he's pitched.
I thought he struggled in New York.
No. Aroldis Chapman does not struggle. He has a bad inning here and there.
The Yankees were just bad.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, the darling Raiders that we've loved very much are not off to a good start as we record this show, as it is currently 20-3 as Tyreek Hill brings back another touchdown. So I think we can go ahead and say that I'm liking the Chiefs for this one.
Yeah, I liked the Chiefs before the game. You know, they went into Oakland, had a convincing win earlier in the season. Now they're back home on prime time. Just seems right for a Chiefs victory.
You know, we've seen the Raiders go down early in the past, and then fight back as a second half team. I'm not going to count them out yet, but I do think they'll fall short. I do think the Chiefs will win, but I think it'll get a lot closer as the game goes on.
Yeah, so I think we all have the Chiefs there. So let's go ahead and go to a big division rival for the Bengals, obviously being the Pittsburgh Steelers, the least favorite team in the world. They are currently 3-point favorites going into Buffalo, and minus the Bengals game, Buffalo has come back down to earth. I saw today that they plan on Mike Gillislee getting more carries in the end zone than the red zone than LaShawn McCoy. Okay, that makes sense. Whatever. But I hate to say it, guys. I know I feel like I pick them every week. I got to pick the Steelers again to go 8-5 this week. I don't want them to. I think that I could definitely see the Bills winning in Orchard Park in this one and just getting the Rex Ryan to keep his job for another year. But I got to pick Pittsburgh, unfortunately.
Yeah, I got to pick Pittsburgh too. I feel like they're clicking right now with all of their offensive weapons, and and the Bills, they show that their defense isn't as good as advertised last week against Oakland.
You know what I'm going to say? Being Pittsburgh, it's a trap. Pittsburgh.
You're going to upload this to the YouTube page, like the video, right? So people can continuously see you do this?
I thought about it. But that's one thing, though, that the Steelers, I think, don't account for very well. Teams that they should be beating, they don't beat very heavily. And these teams hang around. And let's face it, I mean, the Bills, when they hang around, have been making games of things other than last week when they went up and then all of a sudden went right back down to the Raiders. When it came to that second half, what I was talking about earlier. But, for me, I think that I think the Steelers do take care of business, but I think it's an incredibly close game.
I'm okay with that. So, talk about, I don't know, like, to me this is an upset, but according to Vegas, it's not. And according to ESPN's matchup predictor, it's not either. But the 6-6 Tennessee Titans are hosting the 8-4 Denver Broncos. The Titans are 1-point favorites, which if anyone knows anything about betting lines, like 1 point means Vegas has no idea what to do with the game. ESPN's matchup predictor has 53% the Titans winning this game. Oh. And weird, right? Like, I would think like you would have like a lot more confidence in the Denver Broncos being who they are. I know Trevor Siemian's their quarterback and Marcus Mariota's on the other end, but I'm going to take a page from Matt's book here, Shelby. I like the Tennessee Titans at home in this game because we have seen from this Broncos defense that they are not very good against the run. You know who's been good at running the ball this year? Marcus Mariota and DeMarco Murray. I think they're going to be able to control the game at home in their house, and I like the Titans to win this one.
Yeah, and I like Dick LeBeau dialing up some zone blitzing against Trevor Siemian, which he struggled against. And I really like him at home. If that's been the one weakness of the Broncos' Super Bowl defense, it's been against the run, as Jeremy Hill had a good game against them in Week 3. And the Titans are well rested. They just had their Week 13 bye, as did the Browns, which is really weird to me, a Week 13 bye, but whatever. But I like the Titans at home winning in Nashville this week.
Yeah, I'm. Although I have the Tennessee Titan fans standing right in front of me, I'm going to kind of take one of those. It's still Marcus Mariota still has to move the ball down the field by passing. They still have a decent pass defense, and they still have to get it done other than DeMarco Murray. And for that reason, I'm going to go Denver.
I don't know, man. Sling says Derrick Henry has a rookie breakout game this week because he could be that dude. I really don't love Derrick Henry. I'm going to be honest with you guys.
Yeah. Watch DeMarco Murray catch passes out of the backfield because teams that have beaten the Broncos this year, they've had success with running backs out of the backfield catching passes against them.
I hope they do because I have him for fantasy. So needless to say, and it's in a PPR league, so I need him to catch passes out of it.
So let's move on here real quick, guys. So the previous Bengals opponent, the Philadelphia Eagles. And I said last week Carson Wentz has come back down to earth. And honestly, I thought that, like, even though he had a lot of picks, he could have had more in the Bengals game. I still like what he can do in the future. But then again, I'm the guy that said Blake Bortles will be a top 10 quarterback one day. I did that. Why did I do that, guys?
On record.
On record. But I want to say that I think the Eagles will bounce back this week and win, but I don't think they will, which pains me to say because I do not want Jay Gruden to be 7-5-1. But I think he will be.
Yeah, I did too. I'm going with Washington as well.
Yeah, the only problem I think I have with picking Washington this week is the fact that it's still a division game. They still are only separated by about 2 hours. And Eagles fans get really, really angry and bitter when they go on the road and lose. And I hate to make them angry. So, needless to say, I'm still going Washington, but I don't know what my point was there.
All right, that brings us to the Dolphins, who did the Bengals no favors last week. None.
Oh, my God.
Playing the Carson Palmer-led Arizona Cardinals. Shelby, we say this every week. David frickin' Johnson.
My boy.
He's going to do it again.
I think so too. Catching passes out of the backfield. Cardinals got a big win against Washington to stay alive, and they keep that going against the Dolphins team that got brought down to earth a little bit, to say the least, with that loss to Baltimore.
Yeah.
So here's my question then, because I do have a fantasy question, because I really do need help on this, because I stared at it for about an hour. Larry Fitzgerald or Stephon Diggs? Who am I starting?
Larry Fitzgerald.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I'm going Cardinals.
One is Carson Palmer, the other is Sam Bradford.
Retweet.
Yeah, well, one has been a.
We got more games to pick, Matt. We can't talk about the Miami Dolphins. That's what I call them now, the Dolphins.
The Dolphins?
Yeah. So we have the San Diego Chargers going to Carolina. The real question this week is, will Cam Newton have a tie on? But the Panthers at home, coming off an ass beating against the Seahawks, where Cam Newton had one outstanding throw to Ted Ginn, and that was enough to make me not get a bye in my fantasy football playoffs this week. Thanks a lot,
my
Cam.
goodness.
Right. And
I'm
Drew
sorry.
Brees also having a suckfest game. But Cam Newton seems like a different player at home, though he has not been dominant Cam. And I like... Wow, only 14 touchdowns passing this year? That's weird. I like Cam and the boys to take care of business this week, but they better hope Melvin Gordon does not go off because he's about to hit 1,000 yards.
I like the Chargers just because Carolina's secondary's been so bad. And now without Kuechly, they're susceptible in the run game too, and everything points to the Chargers scoring a lot of points.
Joey Bosa has 2 sacks. Chargers win.
The Detroit Lions host the Chicago Bears, and the Detroit Lions are going to keep this midnight train rolling. 9-4, and Motown's going to go crazy this week.
Yep, Lions here, and the Bears, Matt Barkley. They got a win against the Niners in an ugly game, to say the least. And I think the Lions move to 9-4 and keep the Lions big win over Drew Brees last week too.
Yeah,
and a convincing one too. They didn't need a comeback, and they won't need a comeback either against the Bears.
Da coach is embarrassed by this team. Da Bears suck, and da Lions win.
You thought long and hard about that one, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
What's the Peter Griffin reference to that? I stayed up till 2:30.
Yeah.
So, here's a lot of these terrible games that had division implications because the NFL is a terrible product right now. The 6-6 Houston Texans with Brock Osweiler go against the 6-6 Indianapolis Colts in Indy with Andrew Luck. I'm going to say one thing about this game and why I'm picking this one. Andrew frickin' Luck, folks. At home, in a division game. He's really good at these situations. Oh, he's also a really good quarterback. And he's going to win a lot. He's going to win this week, and he's going to have a big day.
Yeah, I'm taking the Colts, too. They blew a lead against Houston last time in Houston. Now they return home, get a big win, and finally take over the reins in that division.
They both suck. It should end in a tie, but somehow the Colts will still win.
So, we talk about the ultimate coming down to earth, guys. I don't think anyone's come down to earth more than the Minnesota Vikings. They're 6-6. They're going to play the 2-10 Jacksonville Jaguars and their amazing All-Pro quarterback in the Blake Bortles machine, who has 15 interceptions this year and hasn't even hit 3,000 yards yet.
I thought you meant Chad Henne.
Oh, yeah, Chad Henne. Sorry. Yeah. Their leading rusher is T.J. Yeldon at 300 yards. Allen Robinson was drafted in fantasy football drafts over A.J. Green this year. You guys remember that was like a discussion that happened? Yeah. And the Vikings...
Robinson had some good games, though. He has. He hasn't dropped off completely.
But neither team is good, and I'm really worried about the Vikings without Harrison Smith. But let's be honest here. It's the Jaguars, and they're the Jaguars for a reason. So the Vikings will be 7-6 after this one.
Yeah, Vikings should have beat Dallas last week on Thursday night. Now they kind of got the mini bye, and Blake Bortles has another bad game. Rough couple weeks for him facing Denver and now Minnesota, two of the best defenses, and Minnesota rolls to a win. Two teams that can't run the ball, by the way.
I know. Jerick McKinnon and T.J. Yeldon. Ooh.
Yeah.
Go Vikes.
In a game of, oh my God, this is terrible. The 3-9 New York Jets, led by Bryce Petty, are going across the country to play the 1-11 San Francisco 49ers, who Colin Kaepernick come off his whopping 5-yard passing game. Guys, I'm picking the Niners in this one. I can't trust Bryce Petty in a road game.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I can't do it either. I think Carlos Hyde can go off in this game, and that's probably the Niners' only chance. They win this game like 4-2.
Bottom of the ninth, runners in scoring position. They get a blooper.
Yeah, Aroldis Chapman's not blowing that save.
The sad thing is I think that Bryce Petty will still have more fantasy points than Cam Newton, especially after last week. What a pitiful performance. I'm still going 49ers. It's the Jets.
So we have a big division game here, and we talk about these young teams that we love, man. How about those young Tampa Bay Buccaneers who are doing business down there at Raymond James Stadium, hosting Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints? Do I like Drew Brees to throw for a lot of yards in this one? Totally. But do I like Jameis Winston and Mike Evans to do more damage? Absolutely. I will take the Buccaneers to this one to be 8-5, and famous Jameis on his way to a playoff matchup, baby.
Yep, I'm going to roll with the hot hand and say, as we always do with Drew Brees outside the dome, and go with the Buccaneers.
What did I say? Drew Brees sucks outside? Or no, I said he was mediocre. I'm sorry. Tampa Bay wins.
So in that same division, battling with the Buccaneers for that victory in the division, we got in the NFC South. The 7-5 Atlanta Falcons go to LA to play the 4-8 Rams, where Jeff Fisher just got a contract extension and lost his challenge flag in the same day. I'll tell you what, guys, man, I really like Jared Goff, and I think that he hasn't been outstanding, but I think he has a lot of great potential in this league. And I don't love this Falcons defense, but until Todd Gurley gets going, I can't pick the Rams to win a game, even at home in the Coliseum. Where the Matt Ryan kind of has that Drew Breesism, where when he's got out of the dome, he's not the same player. But I think Julio's going to be able to make plays in this game. I like Devontae Freeman in this one. I like the Falcons to go 8-5 and keep pace with the Buccaneers.
Yeah, you just can't trust the Rams' offense to keep up with Atlanta in this game. You just can't, and that's why I'm going to go with the Falcons.
Yeah, it's still the Rams. Their offense is still not the greatest, and that's good enough for you not to go with them.
There's a reason why Average Joe is average. It's because he's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But don't worry, I still suck at this podcast. Right, Tim?
Exactly. The 8-3-1 Seattle Seahawks, who are on a roll, maybe it's just more their schedule than them, playing the 6-6 Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. I'll tell you what, man. I think Rodgers is going to have a big game in this one. I think he's going to throw for a lot of yards because he's Aaron frickin' Rodgers. But I think I like Russ and the Seahawks in this one to win, honestly.
Yeah, I like the Seahawks too, and they got a huge statement win, 33-point win over the Panthers. that game against the Buccaneers where they only scored 5 points is kind of really frightening to me. But I just have to like their defense even without Earl Thomas. Michael Bennett's back. I know you hate him, Tim, but I like Seattle to go to Lambeau and get a big win.
It is in Lambeau. They are without the 12th man. It is still Aaron frickin' Rodgers. I'm going Packers.
Nice. Matt is putting all bets on here. So, guys, we know how much I love this young Dallas Cowboy team, right? Like, we talk about it every week. So, Zeke, Dak Prescott, they're playing the one team that's beat them this year. And that's a good football team right now, even though they're coming off that loss against the Steelers where...
did us no favors.
Right. Where I think officiating might have helped them out a little bit in that game. And I'm not that guy. I will never be that guy. But John Perry calling John Perry called the Seahawks game. Never mind. LOL JK, guys.
Admit it. You are the guy.
I'm never that guy. But in this situation, I definitely thought that was the case in the Giants game a little bit. But that Eli being terrible in the red zone. But for some reason, as much as I love the Cowboys and I love 11-1, and I think that they're outstanding and Zeke Elliott's still awesome, I like the Giants to win the upset in this one. I don't want it to be the case because I want the Cowboys to go 15-1 and go to the Super Bowl. I just don't think that that's going to be the case here because, one, I don't think they'll beat the Giants, and two, I don't think they'll beat Seattle in the playoffs. So, as much as I want to say, how about them Cowboys for the 12th week in a row, I'm going to say the New York Giants get in their way this week.
I like the Giants to pull off an upset, too. Just something about them being at home in a big division game. It ultimately probably won't make much of a difference with Dallas leading by 3 games, but the Giants going back home after that loss to Pittsburgh will be fired up and get the win over Dallas.
You guys are forgetting that the X Factor is out. Jason Pierre-Paul is done. I'm going Dallas.
I hope you're right. I do, Matt. You know how much I love the Cowboys, so... That brings us to our final game of the week. And this is a big one, guys. This is AFC playoff implications. This is AFC North implications for the Steelers. And if the Bengals, with their little chance they have left, it's very, very little. Like, very little. Terrific Tom and the 10-2 New England Patriots, where Tom Brady, since they're coming back from suspension, 19 touchdowns and just 1 pick. Joe Flacco in that time frame, I think 12 touchdowns and 9 picks. One team, their leading receiver is Mike Wallace. The other, their leading receiver is Julian Edelman. One team I know does not have Rob Gronkowski, but it's not going to matter. I'm a little worried. I know Shelby said a little earlier in the day he's a little worried about Tom Brady beating the Ravens this week. I said I was too, but I changed my mind. No way. Tom Brady on Monday night is going to chop up a team that he is far better than. The Baltimore Ravens might be 7-5, but they're not good, folks. They are not good. And the Brady and the Patriots are going to roll all over them. 33-14, go Pats.
I like them too. I don't know if the Patriots will score 33 points, but I definitely like their defense to hold Baltimore's offense. Joe Flacco has those outlier games where he goes off for no apparent reason. He had that against the Dolphins. He comes back down to earth against the Patriots, and they win a close game, actually, around 20-14.
Yeah, I don't think Gronk matters. I still think this Baltimore defense is terrible. And, go Pats, and Pats big. I'm going, we'll say 28-10.
Unicorns, show ponies, where's the beef? Tom Brady's the greatest.
And Tim Daniel will never let Deflategate be a real thing.
Oh my god, it's the stupidest thing ever. We wasted 1.5 years on that. The dumbest thing ever. Let's not do this. All right, guys. We're going to wrap up this week's edition of Men in Stripes, brought to you by StripeHype.com. Let's hope the guy that Robert Griffin III and the Browns do not have their best game ever. Let's hope that the Bengals go out there and dominate like we expect them to do. Enjoy the games this week, everyone, and hoo-day.
Hoo-day.